You know, sometimes you got to give yourself a pat on the back. Sometimes you got to give yourself props. You don't all the time need everybody else to do it. You doing it for yourself is just enough. I say that to say I'm not an insider. I have no inside source with the Washington Commanders or the NFL. At the end of the day, I'm just a Washington Commanders fan that talks about the team on YouTube. And sometimes with that, I feel like my knowledge goes unappreciative at times because at the end of the day, I'm not nobody that's certified. I'm just a fan. And also I'm younger than a lot of people. So they may not all the time take my takes very serious. They may be like, "Well, you know, you just talking," which is fine. However, I got to give myself props in today's video because news comes out that Washington could be very interested in Luther Burton. And your man Gotti was all over it about 3.5, basically almost a month ago now. Now we fast forward to the combine and we're hearing more of Luther Burton to Washington. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody. We're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's on.
You know what time it is. It's time to come out.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video. And in today's video, I'm coming on here with a video where we're going to be talking about the Washington Commanders being tied to Mizzou wide receiver Luther Burton. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. For to make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers. We greatly appreciate if you can reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's get straight into today's video. So again, I feel very good today because again, this news comes out, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, not that I'm surprised because again, I know ball and I know my squad. You could say, hey, Juan, you may not know every team, every player on every other team like you know your Commanders, but my Commanders, I know my Commanders, Slim. That's all I'm telling you. And you don't gotta always agree with me, so it's fine if you don't. You know what I'm saying? If you look at my videos sometimes like, hey, Juan, you tripping? That's totally fine. However, today I gotta give myself props. So Luther Burton, we know wide receiver coming out of Mizzou. You look at Luther Burton, you turn on the tape, the first thing you're going to notice is the top end speed. You're going to notice the ability to get under the football and be a deep threat down the field. You're going to know that he has very crisp route running. You're going to know that he has very good hands. But the thing that he specializes in the most is his ability to just get the ball in his hands. And if you really want to take a look at Washington's offense, you can be real and say that is something that we lacked, okay? Very much so. Offensively, we lacked the personnel that had that specific capability. So the only person that could take a screen to the house was De'Ami Brown and maybe Terry McLaurin at times if we catch him on the right game. And then Austin Eckler probably. But we really lacked the offensive firepower to really compete with the Philadelphia, compete with the top team in the AFC, NFC on a consistent basis. So I think adding a guy like Luther Burton per JP Finley, would be an absolute stellar. He says that Luther Burton is a name to watch for the Washington Commanders because his draft stock is sliding. And he's this year's Deebo Samuel coming out of this draft. Again, as we know, Deebo Samuel coming out of South Carolina back in 2019, same draft as Terry McLaurin. He was looked at as a receiver, running back, guy that just get the ball in his hands and he can do wonders. And what have Deebo Samuel been doing since coming into the league? Not the best of it as of late. However, we know what Deebo Samuel is capable of when healthy, when in good shape, and when in a situation where he's getting the ball in his hands. We know Deebo Samuel wants to be a pure wide receiver, but that's just not his strong suit. Not saying that he can't be a pure wide receiver, just that's not what his strong suit is. He is a guy that can do it all, and that is a simple guy that Luther Burton really is, okay? He's a guy that can do it all, but I do think he coming out of Mizzou may be a little bit more polished as a wide receiver and a pure receiver than Deebo Samuel coming out of South Carolina. I do trust Deebo Samuel kind of build more than a Luther Burton because Deebo is more stocky. He's more built. He's more built to last forward tough so he can take them hits out of the backfield. Not saying Luther Burton can't, but Luther Burton isn't as stocky or built as a Debo Samuel to take the kind of punishment that position requires. It's different if you have a position that's very skinny, frail, but it isn't always initiating contact. If you plan to use him as a gadget guy and a guy that can do so much for you, he's going to be taking a lot of contact. So that could be a little bit worrisome, but worrisome. But in my opinion, I think it's just football, and you either got it or you don't. You got the dog in you or you don't. I don't think size matters when it comes to that point. Luther Burton draft stock sliding down could play in a role for Washington, because if we're sitting at 29, what I ultimately think Washington's going to do is take best player available. So you could go into this draft and you could say Washington needs a wide receiver too. Washington needs a left tackle or offensive line. Washington needs a safety. Washington needs a corner. You can say all the holes that we need. Obviously, we don't know what we're going to do in free agency, but we'll know at the time of the draft what we still need. I say that to say, regardless of what you think Washington needs in the first round, I think this regime is going to go best player available. So if that best player available happens to be Luther Burton, we're going to take it. Does that mean that he's our wide receiver too? Probably not. I don't think I picture Luther Burton in his rookie year being our wide receiver too. So I will hope this move is made, if he is there, alongside prior moves in free agency, or maybe even De'Ami Brown coming back, or maybe even us drafting another guy. I don't know. But it's hard for me to believe that we're going to put our faith in a wide receiver 2 rookie, and also not add no veteran to this wide receiver room. I was talking to Reedy and Z and John from Ballin' and Bergie podcast. We got a new show airing every Wednesday live 8 p.m. Last night was the first episode. And I was talking to those fellas about how I personally think this upcoming season it's gonna be all veterans as the starting wide receivers. Terry McLaurin, Cooper Kupps, the Stephon Diggs of the world. I think it could be very, very veteran heavy, with a small dose of some young guys in the rotation, because only really young guy that you got coming back is Luke McCaffrey. You can bring back De'Ami Brown, but he's a vet at this point. He's going to be going into his fourth year. I want to say it's going to be his 5th year. So he's a vet. So I think you go very veteran heavy, especially with T. Higgins most likely going back to Cincinnati, Chris Godwin going back to Tampa Bay. The only veteran options in free agency are the vets, and I think that's a good move. I think that's a good move, while also having young guys behind him in the rotation. So Luke McCaffrey, Luther Burton, unless you just generally think that highly of him, especially being a first round pick, that you think he can come in day one, that's where you do your BPA, but you also have the mental note of, hey, if we draft this guy BPA, we got to understand that we're expecting him to come in and start day one. And I think that's where you may look at Washington end up drafting a position that you may not even necessarily agree with or think was an issue. But if that's BPA and that's a guy that they think is best player available and can come to day one and start, that's what I think they're going to do. Remember, guys, this is an organization that came from the Ron Rivera era, in which we drafted for needs. We seen how that panned out. We drafted Jamin Davis because we needed linebacker play. We needed linebacker help. How did that work out for us? We drafted Emmanuel Forbes because we needed turnovers. We drafted a cornerback because we needed a cornerback. We just drafted the wrong one. But we drafted the guy that had the most interceptions in the NCAA because we needed turnovers. That was the wrong idea. You know what I'm saying? So I say we have drafted for need in the drafts in the past. I think it's time for us to draft BPA. That's why I say if Amarion Hampton falls to 29 and he's there, and he's the best player on your board, take him. You don't got to trade back, or you don't have to risk not having an opportunity to get him. Take him. If it's Scatterbo, take him. I'm not the biggest Scatterbo fan, only for the simple fact that I'm really uneducated on this game fully. Still got to do the process and working out the kinks on his specific game. But first glance, I just think of him as a power back. So I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I understand it. You know what I'm saying? If it's a tight end, if it's Coast and Loveland, okay. So I say that to say I'm all on board with Luther Burton. I love it. I love his game. If he comes in and be the Debo Samuel, cool. And this also wouldn't surprise me, because again, I genuinely think Adam Peters wants to build us like the 49ers. We drafted Ben Sinnott. He said on the phone, that's Kyle Juszczyk. We drafted Jordan McGee. That's Dre Greenlaw. You know what I'm saying? He had the comparisons to him. And obviously, a couple of other guys like the 49ers, kind of built like the 49ers. So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes out there and say, hey, man, Debo could get traded to us. However, we don't want to give up the compensation that 49ers going to ask. So let me go find my own Debo Samuel, and that could be Luther Burden. And if that's the case, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for whatever they do this offseason. I'm not going to question anything because I truly believe in his front office. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, in the moment, we're going to have something to say whether we agree or disagree with the pick, but we're going to let it play out because they earned that, right? So that being said, let me know guys about this video in the comments section. How do you feel about the Washington Commanders being heavily interested in Luther Burden? And if he's at 29, would you take him? How would you feel if Washington decided to take Luther Burden if he was there when it's our turn to pick? Leave it down below in the comment section. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate if you want to reach that goal as soon as possible. Thanks so much. God bless us. Stay safe. Be easy out there. Peace.